I'm going to tell you some things that you don't want to hear. I'm also going to tell you some things you do want to hear, so I suppose in the end it's all a wash. That's not the lesson. This is. Life is hard. Plain and simple. We're in the midst of a pandemic, which of course is the reason why you're seeing me through the screen via video, and you don't get to, or rather have to, see my face in person. That's going to be the only reference to the coronavirus, I promise. Reason is twofold. One, everyone's talking about the coronavirus. There's nothing in the news other than the coronavirus, and I'm kind of tired of it, honestly. And second of all, the coronavirus is temporary. What the virus points to is permanent, namely what I've already said, that life is hard. That's what you don't want to hear. Here's the good news. Life is hard. Life has been hard, life is hard, and life always will be hard. Good news, right? Alright, to be fair, it doesn't really sound like good news, but here's why it is. Life has always been hard, and here we are. You're watching this because magical, invisible beams of information are telling a magical black box to shine very specific lights at your eyes to make it seem like you can see me, when in fact, I'm not even recording this real time. I'm probably miles away from you, and basically in a different time frame that you are. The fundamental underlying technology that was made was developed when people still had to worry about polio, measles, world wars, crazy changes from the Industrial Revolution, pandemics, etc., etc. The list just, it goes on. And yet, people made it work. People have pushed on, persevered through the most difficult circumstances. How? I'm no expert on anything really, so I think you should take it from someone who is. Viktor Frankl lived through the Holocaust. During that time, he survived the most hellish, terrible, unlivable conditions. Conditions that could and regularly did break people. What did Dr. Frankl take away from that experience? He said, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in a given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That's huge. This is coming from someone who survived Auschwitz, someone who, more than anyone else, could have said, this is terrible, pity me, I can't take it anymore, I give up. But he didn't. He said that even when he was worked for hours a day, given essentially water and a few bites of bread a day for sustenance, beaten for the smallest things, had his humanity denied by his fellow men, he could still choose his attitude. Now, I told you earlier a lie. I apologize. I said that life is hard. That's not entirely true. Sure, there are parts of your life that you cannot control, and there will be times when that is hard. But you can always, as Dr. Frankl said, choose your attitude through those hard times. That means life in and of itself isn't hard. Parts are. Those hard parts don't define your life, and they don't define you. Your response to those hard parts does. I'd like to give you another quote, if you'll indulge me one last warning. Sometimes we see that life is hard, and we choose a response of retreating into ourselves. The idea is if we don't reach out, we can't get hurt. And I get that. For the first few years of high school, I had the very same mindset. So I didn't reach out. Looking back, I see how much of a mistake that was. I missed out on opportunities to make myself better because I thought it showed vulnerabilities to reach out. I missed out on opportunities to make cool new friends. I missed out on opportunities to get help when I was struggling. And guess what? All of that, and I was right. It does show vulnerability. But I was wrong in that we need to love each other and we need to reach out. That vulnerability is our strength. It showcases our strength. And as a people, it is our strength. C.S. Lewis shows us why when he says, the alternative to tragedy, or at least to the risk of tragedy, is damnation. The only place outside of heaven where you can be perfectly safe from all the dangers and perturbations of love is hell. If you want to have a full life at all, you have to risk tragedy. You have to have that strength. Because the only place where you can have any chance of not being hurt is either heaven or hell. But if you do it for love, in the end, it's all worth it. So, to sum up, life is hard. You can choose your response to that hardship, and my recommendation is that in the end, your response is love. In times of hardship, choosing to love can look like the smallest things. Calling someone up and asking, hey, are you doing okay? Helping an elderly neighbor with groceries, going to a friend's drive-by birthday party. Small things they can add up to big things. What matters in the end isn't how intact you are or how little trouble you faced in life. Again, that doesn't define you. What matters is showing other people that you care and that you love them even through that hardship. When I say in the end, I mean when you're on your deathbed, looking back at what you've done with your life, try to think about all of your actions. And from that perspective, and as Maury Schwartz, who obviously, if you've read Tuesdays with Maury, he was on his deathbed, dying from ALS, slowly deteriorating, and through that, he was able to say, love is the only rational act. I sincerely believe that. I ask that everyone would choose love as the only rational act. Do what you do because you love people. And because of that, we can make the world a better place, even in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of polio, measles, world wars, whatever it may be. We can do it if we come together and we choose love through the hardship. Thank you very much.